Benny Carter was an American jazz band leader, arranger, composer, and saxophonist, clarinetist, trumpeter, pianist, and occasional singer. He had a career that spanned 8 decades from the 1920s to 1997. Hi, my name's Dan. So this is a review of Further Definitions by Benny Carter and his band, of course. And it's an album of instrumental mid-sized band jazz. I'll explain that in a second. My first time listening to it. I've heard of Benny Carter, but I didn't know much about him before I started doing my research for this video. So it's like a small band, but it's got four four saxophones in it, so it's not big band, but it doesn't quite sound like a small band. So a lot of small band jazz in the 1960s, late 50s, early 60s, jazz as a whole seemed to go towards the small band trios, quartets, quintets, etc., especially for the instrumental stuff, the stuff that seems to go under the name hard bop is very much seems to be in that kind of area. So this is a bit like that because it's got guitar, piano, bass, and drums, and then sax. But it's got four saxes. And what that does is that it makes the sound of it, although they've reduced the size of the band, it's still got some of that big band sound, which is the harmonies from the saxes. So somehow they've managed to retain some of the big band feel uh, while shrinking the band somewhat down to whatever that is, 7, 8. Just working that out. Um, so that's what it's like. The kind of jazz that it is well, jazz often involves improvisation. So I would call this, or I use the term bookended, by which I mean that you start with the tune, and then you have a whole lot of wibbly and improvisation, and then you end with a tune. And that's a bit like this, but it tends to have a bit more of the scripted sections, and then in between the saxes, two of them are alto sax, two of them are tenor sax. They take it in turns to solo. Um, so the big band was often very scripted, compared to kind of more open small band jazz. Again, this is somewhere halfway between the two, I would say. Uh, some tracks are fast, some tracks are slow. There's different feels, as you might expect. There is, because of the way that it's put together, it has a ballroom kind of feel to it, especially in the faster tracks. And in some ways, this kind of getting this ballroom feel to it, I think, is somewhat impressive in 1962. So jazz had moved away from jazz originated in all sorts of places, but one of the things that it did was it was there for dancing, and it was played in ballrooms and big bands, and then it moved into concert halls and became a bit more cerebral. This feels more like it's going back to the roots of jazz here. It's nicely recorded. It's very clear. My favourite track on the album is Crazy Rhythm, and that's because I'm quite familiar with it. I've got a version of this on a Stefan Grappelli album, which I've played many times. It's a nice listen. It's got, it's cool jazz. It's got a chill feel to it. If I've got a criticism, it feels a bit kind of corporate at times. It feels like they're kind of doing what they're being told to, and it doesn't have maybe as much heart as some of the jazz that I've come across. But it's very accessible. It would work well, I think, for nostalgic feeling kind of adverts. You want people to feel like back in the 50s or the 40s, even something like that. Playing one of these tracks could give that kind of feel to it. So, yeah, it's reasonably enjoyable, or I found it to be so. So at this point, I'd like to invite you to tell me what you think of the album. So please do that by leaving me a comment. And I'm just going to step out of the review for a quick word from my regulars, which is this is the debut of the Beard Plat. Let me know what you think. If you've got any ideas for different arrangements of Beard Plats, let me know those as well, and I'll maybe give them a go. That's it from me for now.